Hello guys, welcome to YG Digital World. On today's video, I'll be teaching you how to create an event flyer, but this time around you'll be learning different things such as how to create depth in a design and how to use colors, play around with colors. So in doing this, I'll be making use of Photoshop 2020. I remain your host, Agu Joseph. Please, if you are new to this channel, do well to subscribe to the channel. Click on the post notification bell to get notification whenever I upload new content, and don't forget to give this video a like. You can also follow me on my social medias on at YJ Digital World. So let's get into it. First of all, on my screen here I have the Photoshop application opened. So I have to click on the create new, so create the workspace we'll be using for this project. So on clicking on create new, the create new panels comes up. So we're calling this project June 9th. That's the title for this project. Okay, using the measurement unit of inches, 4 by 4 of width and height. Then my resolution is in 300, color mode RGB, and we'll click on create. So here guys, you can now see my workspace on my Photoshop. So let's get into it. First of all, I have to create my background, which is my solid fill. So let me copy out the hex code for the background. Here is the hex code for the background. So I'll just come right here and paste it in here. So after doing that, I'll come over to my resource here. Here are the resources I'll be using for this project. These are the resources. So I'll come here and drag in my background, which I'll be using for this project. I'll drag it into my Photoshop space. So after dragging it into my Photoshop workspace, all I have to do is to hit Ctrl minus to zoom out a little bit, hold Alt on my keyboard, left click and drag so that I can scale up and scale down the size of my image from the middle. Okay, after doing that, I click on OK, the check button at the top. After clicking on the OK, I can choose to adjust the position. Then after doing that, change my blending mode to soft light. After changing my blending mode to soft light, I can come over here on my filter, come to blur, Gaussian blur. I think this is okay. The radius is 11.1 radius. Click on OK. That's for that. So after doing this, I have to create a gradient map for this project. I click on it on my adjustment panel here. So make sure whenever you want to work on your gradient, make sure that your gradient thumbnail is selected. That is the layer thumbnail. Make sure it's selected. So you come over here. If you can notice on your gradient editor, your gradient editor is made up of two handles. The one at the left is called the shadow, while the one at the right hand side are called the highlights. While I can choose to add one at the middle, and it's called the midtones. So on my highlight here, I will be changing the color to this. It's called the shadow. I've copied the hex code. Come over here, click on this, click on color. I'll paste it right in here. Click on OK. Come over here as well, click on this, click on color. I want to change the highlight. Also come back to my notepad here, copy my highlight hex code, come back to the Photoshop and paste it in here. Click on OK, and after doing that, I'll click on OK. So that's for that. So next, I'll be changing the blending mode to divide. Okay, so I've done that. So let me zoom in back to full screen, to fit to screen, Control 0 to fit to screen. That's for that. So the next thing I'll be doing in this project is to group my layers together. So I'll select the first layer, hold shift, select the last layer here, then can hit the keyboard shortcut for grouping is Control G, or I'll come over here and click on this group icon here, and it groups the whole layer for me. I'll call this BG, which stands for my background. So the next thing in this project is placing in my model image. Okay, for me to do this, I have to come to my resource here and drag it in. Okay, this is the image we'll be using. So let me scale it, adjust the size. Okay, that's for this. Now, after placing my text in the Photoshop workspace, all I have to do next is to create a duplicate of this image. So to create a duplicate, you can hit Ctrl J or you drag it down. Ctrl J to duplicate. I'll come over here on my filter, slide over to others, come to high pass, I'll click on high pass, then set my high pass to about 2.3 radius. I'll click on OK. Come over here on my blending mode and change it to hard light. Okay. Now, this is the before and this is the after. If you can notice, it has added a, a particular amount of depth on the image, giving the image another kind of look entirely. So all I have to do is to select the two groups and I'll merge them. Ctrl G to merge. I can call this model. Okay. So after doing that, I want to also make a duplicate of this group again. Turn off this other group. Hit Ctrl E to merge the visibility of the group. So after merging the group together, next thing I want to do here is to start adding depth to this image, adjusting the highlights, the midtones and the rest of them, even the colors. So the first thing I'll be doing here is to add hue. I'll come to my adjustment panel here, come to my hue here, click on my clip marks. I need effects to be only on my model. So I'll reduce my saturation to about, let me see, about 17. You can see before and this after. I've desaturated it a little bit. So after doing that, I also have to go and create a curve. Okay, I want to add a little bit of depth using my curves. Come to my curves here on my adjustment panel, click on it, click on clip marks. Okay, I'll click and take down my shadows a little bit down and increase my highlight as well a little bit. Okay, you can see. I don't need this to be too strong. That's why I'm careful with how I play with my highlights and my midtone and my shadows. You can see before and after. So after doing that, next thing I'll be doing here is to add a little bit of levels to this. I need to take out some part of this image, so I need to add a little bit of depth. So come over to levels here, clip marks. Okay, after clip marking, so I'll come over to my midtones here. Okay, I'll add more of shadows to this. Okay, to about, let me see, I think this is okay. So I'll hit, all I have to do now is to minimize, come to my brush here, pick my brush, right click and make sure you selected the soft round brush is selected. After doing that, I can come over here and I can choose to leave my flow on 100. The flow and opacity enables me to control the strength of my brush, that is on how heavy the brush will work on the image. So for me to control the strength, I'll make sure that my flows and opacity are set to 100 precisely. If you notice, my mouse pointer changes to a cross, that is to say my caps lock on my keyboard is turned on, so all I have to do is to turn it off so I can actually see the size of my brush. Okay, I can use the open and close bracket key beside my P button on my keyboard to increase and reduce the size of my brush as well. So I'll zoom in, Ctrl plus to zoom in. Okay, now if you notice on this mask layer, for me to brush over a white mask layer, my foreground color should be on black. So for me to do this, I've set it on black. So after doing that, I need to adjust the flow. I noticed that the flow was heavy, so I reduced it to about 70%. Come over to my max layer. Make sure your foreground color is still set to black. Then brush over. Okay, I need to regain some parts of this image. The main purpose of me brushing over is to give it that feel of a natural look, because there's no way you see that. Okay, if you can see before and this is after, if you can see, I'm trying to add a little bit of depth to the jacket, not on the model's body or his face rather. So if you notice, most of the effects are on the jacket, so I need to take out the ones that are on his body. So I don't need those effects on his body. So all I have to do is to brush out those parts that I don't need on this project. Okay, even in this other region, to maintain the looks perfectly, so I have to also reduce my flow again, so thereby controlling the strength of my brush over here. I need that little bit of shadow here, thereby not making the image look very flat. I think this okay, this is okay for that. Also come over here in this hand region, I'll brush out, I'll increase the flow. I think this is good for that. So after applying the levels, I also need to add a little bit of level again, thereby adding more depth to this project. So I'll click on my click marks to make the effect to be only on my model. So I'll increase my shadow a little bit. So about, let me see, okay, you can see before and this after. Okay, so thereby trying to balance the light effect on the model. So if you can see, you notice that okay, the light on the model is the light ray on the model is coming from the from the left hand side of the model. Okay, thereby casting a shadow at the right hand side of the model, thereby creating a balance in reflection of light. It's as if someone standing in front of a light, and thereby, if you notice, if you stand in front of a light, your shadow will be casted directly the behind you. If you are always observant, whenever you stand in front of a light source, you can never see your shadow beside you or in front of you. They are always being casted behind you. So let's keep moving. So the next thing I'll be doing here, after adding these levels, I'll be working um, on the hair region. So I noticed the hair has some little white effect on them. So I'll be adding a little bit of curve this time around, but with the use of this curve, I'm only adding shadows. I'll max it. Okay, I need to add more of shadows to this. You can see the hue effect is on the project, but I don't need the hue effect to be on the project. And you see everywhere is dark, so I'll just hit Ctrl I on my keyboard to invert max, select my white, I change my foreground to white, as you can see. So over here, I can come to reduce the strength of my brush, and that is the opacity or the flow. So I'll reduce this a little bit to about, let me see, 71. So I'll zoom in, Control plus to zoom in. So the white enables me to brush on a black max layer. So all I have to do is to brush this way. You can see I'm now regaining those shadows effects that I inverted earlier. You can see this before and this after. That's for that. So after doing that, the next thing I'll be doing is to add a little bit of depth in terms of the color of the model's jacket. Notice he's wearing a blue jacket, so I need to control the strength. I'll need to increase the strength and brighten up the level of the blue of the jacket. So I'll come to adjustment panel here, select selective colors, select my blue here, then on my blue here, if you notice the selective color panel or the presets is having the CMYK color format, while at the right hand side is having the RGB color format, which is not actually visible, it is not being written. But whenever I want to add more of blue, I have to select the blue on the colors. Then the first here is cyan, the opposite of cyan is red, the opposite of magenta is green, the opposite of yellow here is blue. So for me to gain my blue, I have to slide it this way and clip max the layer. You can see, but if I slide this way, I'm adding more of yellow to the project. But I'll slide this way, okay, and increase the strength. Okay, that's for that. This before and this after. Before and after, before and after. Okay, that's for that. So after doing that, I'll come over here and select the layers. I'll group them. Okay, after grouping them, I'll call this model. Call this model this time around. Okay, now I've grouped the whole layers. Next thing I'll be doing in this project is to add a little bit of a lighting effect on this project. So for me to do this, I add a new layer, pick my brush, turn on, increase my flow back to 100, opacity to 100, turn off my caps lock, sample a color around this region here. Okay, then increase the size of my brush. I'll just hit the brush once, come over here, change the blending mode to screen, increase, transform, Ctrl T to transform the size of the brush. I think this is okay this way. Okay, I can also make a duplicate, Ctrl J, Ctrl T to transform and reposition elements. Okay, Ctrl J again, Ctrl T to enable me resize and position elements the way I want them. Okay, I think that's good for this. Ctrl J again, Ctrl T. I'll come over here. I don't need it to be highly intense. I'll also reduce the size from the side precisely. Okay, I'll also come to my opacity here. and reduce the strength of this, thereby making the strength of light more balanced precisely. Okay, so after doing that, I can come here, select the whole layers and group them and call them light. Okay, so that's for that. So next thing I'll be doing is to bring other elements in, such as text and images. So for me to place my text properly in my design, I have to create a guide that will enable me structure my text properly in my design project. So for me to do that, I'll come to view here, new guide layout, and these are the parameters I use in setting my guides. So I click on OK. So I pick my text tool, come over here, I'll paste in this text here, change the color to white. Okay, so after doing that, I'll come over here again, pick this other text, copy it, paste it here. Okay, I'll also come here, reduce the leadings. This leadings enables me to adjust the space between text vertically, while tracking enables me to reduce and increase the space between text horizontally. So I'll come to my notepad, copy the next set of text, come here, paste it in, I'll check, come over here again, copy this next set of text, copy them, come over here and paste them, I'll check. So let me work on this first. First of all, I want to control the position of my text. I want to change the position of my image. Okay, for me to adjust the position of my image, I will Control T and drag it to somewhere around here. Okay, so drag the first text here, Control A to select all and align horizontally, then Control D to deselect. So use my move tool and position it to somewhere around here. Okay, so after doing that, change my font to Montserrat. That's the font I'll be using for this project. So after this, I'll select this set of text. I'll be changing their type to regular. I'll be changing this to semi bold. Okay, I can also come here and increase my tracking, as well as reduce the size of my text to this. Control A, I'll select your move tool and align it horizontally, deselect. So after doing that, come over here, just this position of this. So I'll come over here, select the theme of the event. Okay, this is the theme of the event. I'll take it up to somewhere here. Okay, I'll reduce my leadings here. Okay, also come here, pick my text tool, select the first line of text, increase the size. I check, pick my move tool and adjust the position to somewhere around here. Okay, so I also come here, adjust the position of this set of text here. I'll change this to Montserrat as well. Okay, after changing this to Montserrat, I'll change this to regular. Come over here, change this to Montserrat as well. Okay, after doing that, I'll change this to bold. Okay, select bold, turn on the flux. Okay, and position this around here, increase the text, size of text. Now check and position it directly beneath this. So after doing that, I'll come over here, select this group of text and group them. Ctrl G, I'll call this music policy and make a duplicate. Ctrl J to make a duplicate, Ctrl T to transform. So I noticed that some other set of text were inside of this. So I'll take this outside, like the theme. I need to separate it from this. So I'll come over here, Ctrl T, and drag it to somewhere around here. I'll check, come over to my notepad here, copy this set of text, come over here, pick my text tool and paste it in here. I'll check, I'll change this to hype policy. Okay, that's for that. So next thing I'll be doing is to place in my dates. I'll copy it. Okay, start copying it and make a duplicate of this. I'll call this, I'll change the name to hype policy. So I make a duplicate of that group and drag it to somewhere around here. Okay, so in here, I'll select this first set of text, I'll delete it, come over here and paste in this set of text. So all I have to do is to change this to another type face here, change this to regular, same as that of date. Sorry, time, I'll change it to regular, date, also change it to regular. I'll click on check. That's for that. So let me bring in the next set of text, which is the location of where the event will be holding. Okay, I'll change the name of this group to date and time. Sorry, date and time. Okay, and make a duplicate of the same group again. Ctrl J to make a duplicate. Left click and drag this way. Check. Come here, Ctrl A. Then you paste in your text. You check. So this first line of text is the name of the event center. So I need to make more emphasis there by increasing the size of the text. I think that's okay. And also come here as well, reduce the actual size. Okay, and increase tracking. Okay, so after doing that, I'll come here and adjust this. I'll turn on the flux. Okay, I'll come here again, reduce, sorry, I'll come over here and adjust my tracking a little bit and hit on OK, the check. So I'll minimize this, come here, adjust my tracking a little bit, my leadings a little bit. I think this is okay. Pick my text too. Pick my text too. Come over here on my resource, I'm dragging this into my workspace. Okay, take it outside here. Okay, let me bring it back into the same group. So I'll come over here, select my rectangular marquee tool, make my selection. Okay, after making my selection, I'll mark it, come over here, double click and change the color to white. Click OK. Right click and convert this layer to a smart object. Ctrl T to transform and scale down the size. Okay, and position it somewhere here. Okay, so come over here, pick this set and adjust it somewhere here. Ctrl T to adjust the size of this text. Okay, I've checked. So after doing this, let me bring in the next set of text, which is the next set of text, which is this. I'll copy them rather. Come to my workspace, pick my text tool and paste. I'll check. So I'll come and align text to the middle. Ctrl T, increase the size. Okay, change the font to Montserrat. Come over here, reduce the size of my reservation text, change the mode to regular and change this to medium. I think it's more visible. Let me see. Let me change it to okay. Let me change it to semi bold. So after that, I'll reduce my tracking. Sorry, my leadings precisely. Okay. Ctrl A, align horizontally, deselect. Then I'll come here and position it. Okay. And come over here as well. Select the text and increase my tracking if I want to a little bit. I've increased my tracking a little bit. I check. Ctrl T and still choose to scale down the size. Okay, so after doing that, the next set of text, the next set of elements I'll be bringing in should be the drinking IQ. Convert it to a smart object. Select my rectangular marquee tool. Make this selection and max. So if you notice, the 18 plus icon has disappeared. I'll hit Ctrl I to restore it back. Okay, Ctrl T, scale down the size and position it here. I'll check, right click and convert it back to smart object. I can still resize it if I want to. Okay, so let me bring in this set of images to my projects. Okay, So let me first reduce the size, Ctrl T, reduce the size. Okay, come over here, drag this as well, Ctrl T. Okay, let me first convert this to a smart object and reduce the size. After reducing the size, okay, I'll select the two drink images here, Ctrl J, drag it to somewhere here, Ctrl T, right click and flip vertically, Ctrl minus and plus to zoom in and zoom out. So left click and drag this way. So after doing that, adjust the position, Ctrl H to hide my guide. So after doing that, all I have to do is to merge the two layers, Ctrl E on my keyboard. I've merged the two layers together. Come to my gradient here, selected my gradient. To max out some part of this image, all I have to do firstly is to add my max before brushing over. So for me to brush over this layer, I've make sure that my max is already selected. I'll set my gradient. Okay, it's already set on black and white. So I'll just set it on my fallback color to black and I brush over. You can see I've brushed over. So I'll come here, reduce the opacity. Now the main purpose of me adding this kind of gradient is to give the project a look, not making the bottle of drink look as if it's floating, but rather it's sitting on a particular surface. Shadows help to give more details to elements in designs. Okay, please always take note of that. Okay, let me adjust the opacity of this. Okay, on the set of drinks, I'll select the whole layers and group them together. I'll call these drinks. Okay, and choose to come back here again on my adjustment panel, add levels to this, max, add a little bit of shadow and a little level of highlight to the project. Okay, so after doing that, we'll be moving to the next and the final phase of this design project, which has to do with the theme. So here we'll be working on this theme. So I'll change the fill color to this color. Let me copy the hex code. I'll copy it, come back here and paste it in here. I'll check. So after doing that, I'll come again. I have to create a little bit of depth using another element in this design project. So for me to do this, I'll come over here. So here I want to add a little bit of gene texture to the theme of the event. So I have to drag this gene texture material to Photoshop and into a new workspace in my Photoshop. So as you can see, it's already here. I'll have to unlock. So I'll come to my select here, click on color range, I'll sample a particular region here. I increase the fuzziness, I can reduce the fuzziness. I think this okay. I click on OK. So all I have to do after that, I'll click on new layer, make sure my foreground color is set on white, then hit Alt backspace on the new layer. Okay, so after that I'll I'll move this into my Photoshop workspace. You can see the texture of the gene. I'll place it somewhere around here. Then all I have to do is to max it on it. If you notice the gene texture is not too strong, I can also make more duplicate of it. I also max it. Okay, thereby increasing the visibility of the gene texture on the project. Okay, so after doing so, I need to add a little bit of depth to this. I'll come to my levels on my adjustment panel here, on curves precisely, and create a curve of this nature and max it. Okay, so after doing that, I can also come back to my levels as well, add a little bit of levels to this, I'll max as well. Okay, and increase my shadows a little bit. So about, let me see. Okay, that's for that. Okay, so after doing that, I'll come to my text layer here, double click. So my layer style panels comes up. On this panel, I'll click on my bevels and emboss. So I'll be creating a preset. Okay, so as if the preset are already active. I'll select emboss, chisel hard. Okay, so my depth is on 917, size 4, soften, and I'm using this particular gloss contour for this project. Okay, you can see. Let me zoom out. You can come here and choose to adjust all this. Okay, and after that, all you have to do is to click OK, Ctrl H to hide your guide. So the last phase is to come to where you have the model image, click on it. Now I need to make most of the elements around this region more visible. For me to do this, I have to create a little bit of contrast, thereby making them more visible. So I'll add a max here, pick my gradient and brush. You can now see creating a little bit of contrast, making those set of text and shapes more visible, unlike the way before. Hope you understand what I just explained. So guys, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, or if you learn anything from this video, do well to like this video, share this video with your friends. And if you are new to my channel, please do well to subscribe, turn on the post notification bell to get notification whenever I upload new content. If you have a comment, you can leave your comment in the comment section. You can also check me up on my social medias at YJ Digital World. Thank you guys for watching.